All right, we'll continue with head coach Mark Dantonio. The Spartans take on Northwestern this Saturday at 3:30. Just a reminder, Coach Izzo will go on after Coach Dantonio.
Okay, I'm going to stick around for that one. Real quick, I have not been up to Northwestern since 2013, so we're looking forward to the opportunity and the challenge up there. Pat Fitzgerald has always had great football games with Michigan State. You know, when I look back at our times there, they're always extremely well coached. They always go down to the end, it seems. You know, last year things got out of hand a little bit here from a defensive point of view, scored some points, but look forward to going up there with the challenge. I think offensively, outstanding quarterback, a guy that's been around for a while there, established. Thornton's an established guy. Justin Jackson as well. I think he's 8th in the all-time career rushing leader in the Big Ten. I believe he's 8th right now. So the challenge is to stop those two guys offensively. Defensively, I think they're a football team that's going to be where they're supposed to be, on time. They got some bell cows at each position, you know, whether it's defensive line, linebacker, or in the secondary, and they'll rely on those guys as they play through. But very good defensive player. Mike Hankwitz does a great job with that. So I'll just take some questions. When you look at them right now, you look at what they're a 4-3 football team. They've lost to Penn State, Wisconsin, you know, Duke, which I think is a little bit. I didn't see the same players playing in the Duke game that you see now playing, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then they've beaten a Maryland team and an Iowa team this last week, and Nevada and BG early in the season. So 4-3 football team, but I think they're a better football team now than they were at the beginning of the season, and be a great challenge for us.
Mark, during the Rose Bowl season, your season started a lot like this. Your defense was holding people down, and then you had to flip the switch a little bit offensively. On Sunday night's conversation, you said something pretty enlightening about Dave Warner asking you what to do, and you said, go get the points. Do you have to flip the switch a little bit in the down half of the season like you did in 13 to be a little bit, not change who you are, but a little bit more aggressive for points?
Well, I think we're always trying to attack to get points. You know, if you look back at 13, we were a young football team, had a sophomore quarterback, a lot of guys that nobody really were not entrenched at the wide receiver position. We had no tailback at the time. Until Jeremy sort of started, and we just started coming about mid-year, you know, or a little before mid-year. We just started moving that direction, and I thought everything started hitting sort of full throttle. I do not think we've played our best football game yet as a team. You know, Brian Lewerke hasn't been on fully. We've not run the ball fully. We've not gone through a game where everything's going right for us. We need to have one of those football games as we get here in the second half of the season. It would be great to have this one, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But you know, we're always trying to score points. I walked over here this morning, or came over this morning. You know, I was in the offensive meeting room and say, "Hey, just score points." I mean, it's just that simple. You know, the head coach comes in there and says, "Hey, score some points." It's like that. I keep saying, you run that play over again when that guy catches that post, runs for a touchdown, but. There are a lot of nuances there. I think the defenses this year in college football have caught up a little bit with offenses. You're seeing lower scores around the country, particularly I think in this conference, in the Big Ten. You're seeing some lower scores. And there's some people that are still scoring a lot, but I think that people have caught up a little bit in that regard. So people are tackling a little bit better, whatever the case, however you shake it all out. But I don't think there's any question that, you know, as we go forward, we want to score more. We just want to win. You know, bottom line is, can we score one more point than they do? And that was a great illustration of that last week.
Mark, kind of going off that same question, you mentioned when Jeremy took flight in 2013 that the offense kind of lit up. Are you kind of starting to see that maybe a little now with the run game? And how critical is it for Brian's development to have the run game open up the passing game a little bit for him?
Well, I think when you can do one thing, it complements the other. If you can't pass it all, then, you know, you get loaded up on against the run. If you can't run it at all, then you get loaded up on. I think the biggest thing when you look at us right now is we have the will to run the football. We ran it 44 times last week. There is a will to do that. And as long as we have a will to do that, you know, good things usually follow that, because you've got to defend the run if you are running it. So we're We're going to stick it up in there. We're going to be balanced. We're going to do what we do. At some point in time, everything's got to work on certain particular plays, and we got to bust one into the second, and we bust one into the secondary. It happened a couple times this past week, but more often than not, the week before it happened a lot, and but we still are the fourth leading team in the conference here running the football. We're the fourth. So it's not like we're not running the ball at all. We want to run it more. And I think we want to see the bigger plays. I think the productivity is there when you look at some of the averages and things of that nature. When you look at, what's this average or what's the efficiency of that, and we look at all those different things. Some of the efficiency is there, but then something will happen like we'll bobble a snap. Or we'll snap the ball over our head. Or, something happens, we take a negative yardage play, and all of a sudden you're sitting back there third and 8 rather than 3rd and 3. So it's not like we're not, and then you want to see the big plays too. And I think everybody wants to do that at every football team in America.
Mark, we've talked a lot about the youth on this team and how many young players you're relying on, but those few seniors that you do have, whether it's Fry or Brian Allen or a couple other guys, how vital have they been in terms of bringing these guys along, getting them to understand how important each week is? And just, there's not a lot of them,
Critical.
but how vital have they been?
Yeah, they're critical because regardless of what you say, even though we do not have a lot of seniors playing, they're still in positions of leadership. They've been there. They've been to, these guys have been to Rose Bowls. They've been to the playoff games. They've been to Cotton Bowl, those type of things. And they've also been without a bowl for 1 year. So they've experienced a lot of different things, and I think there's some wisdom in that. And then the other thing that they have done, they've been extremely unselfish as they've gone through. There's not as many, but they've been extremely unselfish. And usually when you look at them, you ask your seniors to have your best year that you've had as a football player here at Michigan State. And I think Brian Allen is playing at a very high level right now. I think Coop is playing very, very well. Chris Fry is probably playing as good as he has right now. And those are our 3 seniors that are really playing a lot. Gerald's been nicked up a little bit, and other guys are playing in and out, but they're doing what they can do, and it's been a big positive for us.
Mark, with Justin just concentrating on the one side of the ball this year, how much growth have you seen out of him, just focusing on corner?
Yeah, he's played very well this last week. I think he's playing very good football. He's tackling well. He's playing the ball down the field. We ask a lot of our corners. I think he's very good. He's 6'3", he can really run, and he's got great ball skills, and he's tackling effectively. And, last year, I think in this particular game, I think I said, hey, you're starting. And just sort of threw him out there, and we moved him after 3 or 4 games. He was playing wide receiver, I think, in the Indiana game last year. So, he was just learning the position last year. I think he's much, much more complete right now.
2 questions, I'll ask them separately, but I want to start with senior leadership. Gerald goes out after having missed some time being nicked and tweets about his pride in this team and being a leader. What's it say about his character? He's not playing, but man, he still is leading.
Yeah, he's still leading, and he's been doing that really since January. It's been a big part of us sort of recollecting ourselves, in the off season when things were going on and everything. I think he had a lot to do with sort of just keeping everybody together. He'll play for us. He played a lot, as we go. And, I still think all 3 of those guys are sort of starters. I don't really care who plays. Get the hot hand, and you're going to play. He should be back this week. So, he's been just hampered a little bit. But he's been very, very good, critical, and like I said earlier, very unselfish.
Cody White moves up the depth chart. Would you talk about his progression, please?
Yeah, Cody had an outstanding game, I think, this past week, so we moved him up. I think really our wide receiver situation is going to a little bit pretty much be unchanged in the fact that we're going to play a lot of them. We're going to play a lot of different guys at different positions. They're going to be interchangeable. You'll probably see 6 or 7 different guys playing. And, if a guy gets the hot hand or a guy getting the ball thrown to him and is catching the football, then he's going to have opportunities. But I thought he played very well last week. I thought even more than his catches, he was just an aggressive football player on the field, and you need to have those. So he'll get the start, but I don't think it's going to mean that anybody else is going to play more or less.
Mark, I have 2 questions as well, different subjects. How much of what's going on with your defense is as simple as the pass rush is so much better with 18 sacks? Like if you go back and look at last year's defense, how much of it was just the eroding of confidence as you guys couldn't get to the quarterback in comparison?
I think when you have success, you get more confident. I think last year, there was a lot of different things going on. We had injuries at our linebackers. We had our 3 starting linebackers out for, right through the middle part of the season. We were playing young players up front, and players, if they weren't young, they were players that, a graduate transfer was here, so he was learning a new position as well. We had 2 redshirt freshmen and a true freshman playing. We had defensive ends that were extremely young. We've tweaked some things in terms of what we do and how we do it. I think it's complemented our package, and then we understand better. I do think that one of the things that you're always looking at is teacher-player ratio, coach-player ratio, and moving Mark Snyder to defensive ends and having Ron Burton coach the defensive tackles, especially in this era of RPOs and spread football, allowed them to concentrate on more what they're seeing individually. So you've got about an 8-to-1 coach-player ratio rather than 16-to-1 in a meeting room, and then in drills and things of that nature. So rather than splitting time and this kind of stuff with Coach Tressel taking the defensive ends or something like that, we have a full-time guy at defensive end. And I think in this day and age, that's helped us. And I think you see the results of that on the field. But I think inevitably it goes back to technique and fundamentals, and I think we're playing pretty well with fundamentally. And there's a lot of confidence. When you look out there right now, you really only have about, a couple guys that played last year. The rest of them are all new. And I think they're playing with a lot of confidence. They're playing fast. And if you can play fast and know where to go and do it well, good things happen.
The second question is Northwestern is a different dynamic than any other school in terms of half the fans are often Michigan State fans because of how many alums are in Chicago and everything. How much impact does that make on the games? How different a road environment is this than any other place you guys go?
Well, it's going to be a lot different than Minnesota because there will be, maybe half, maybe not half, but 30%, 40% is what I've seen up there. So, you've got 10 to 15,000, 20,000 Spartan fans up there, and that makes it exciting. Spartan Nation will be there. I know a lot of people will come from here to Chicago and make it a weekend. I know a lot of Spartans are in Chicago. So that makes it exciting for our football team. We have a lot of players, or a number of players, not a lot, but 5, 6, 7 guys from Illinois that are playing a lot for us, and that'll be exciting for them to go back.
Coach, my question was along those same lines about the atmosphere, so I'll phrase it like this. How do you expect the atmosphere in Northwestern to compare, given the team's 6-1 and maybe the expectations weren't as high, as opposed to years past when it was the Rose Bowl season, I believe, in 13. Where do you see any comparison there, if any?
I think in the Rose Bowl season, maybe we were playing in them either the next to the last game. I think the next to the last game, I believe. So I think right now it's going to be it's an exciting football season right now. All of our goals are still in front of us right now, and so we just need to take one step at a time. And people want to get on the bus and come on. So I think it'll be pretty green up there personally, but we'll see.
Mark, for an update on your battle of inches, you've won 4 close games in a row.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to say...
I'm anticipating a 5th close game, but we'll see.
I'm guessing those are inches you didn't win last year. Is this team starting to believe in itself?
Yeah, I think so. Again, I go back to, when you're successful, you get a little bit more confident. When you make a play at the end of the game, you think that, hey, next time around you'll make another play. You find ways to win. That's always been the formula here. Last year, you could make a case for, hey, we lost by 1 point to Ohio State. We lost some other close games along the way, and we didn't find ourselves in the fourth quarter. This year, we're doing that. So I think that's leadership. I think that's confidence. That's emotion. That's enthusiasm. All those intangibles that come with playing football, and that's why this game is. You talk about the fundamentals that we were talking about before. You talk about the leadership from the seniors or the young players that we have, and all these things come in every football team has basically it all bottled up, and somehow it spills out or shakes out. And right now, we're a 6-1 football team, and but I think we're a realistic football team. We understand what we have to do too. I don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves, so we need to prepare this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are big days for us, and we need to get ourselves ready to play emotionally.
It's apparently a two-part question, Day. I got a two-parter
There's a lot of those.
on punting.
Punting.
First of all, looking at Jake Hartbarger's game on Saturday, how effective a weapon he's been, and especially with punting as much as he did in that game, I guess, how did he deal with that?
Yeah. I think I talked about this earlier, in the press conference. He's, I think, to the point where he's not rattled anymore as a young player going out there and having to punt. He's extremely confident in his abilities, and he's got a big leg. You pooch punt from the minus 45. So you put the one down right on the inch-yard line. He's been good with that. I mean, really, he's been very good putting them down inside the 10. We need to be better in terms of keeping the ball out of the end zone because he's done that a couple times. We had opportunities. But I just think he's got that approach right now where he looks forward to going into the game and showing his skills. And that's confidence, and that's a big positive.
And secondly, you're on your fourth guy listed as the leading punt returner here. I guess, how are you managing that position right now? Is it based on situations, and both for Jake and for those punt returners, what are the challenges of playing at Northwestern with the wind that comes in there?
Yeah. Well, it was windy last week up at Minnesota, very windy, and I thought we caught the ball well. But I think going back there is about catching the football, being consistent with it, and then making good decisions as much as anything. And, we do. We're on our fourth guy. And we tried to take something off of Darrell's plate a little bit, Darrell Stewart's plate a little bit, because he was being used in all these different areas. So we went with a younger guy. We dropped one in the Michigan game, decision-making, not ability. And then we fielded one inside the 10 versus Minnesota. And then we did the same thing again this past week. So, you lose yourself out there on the field maybe when the ball's punted. Your concentration is so good. But they all catch the ball very, very well. And there are 3 freshmen back there of the 4. But they have a lot of confidence in themselves. I thought Cody did a nice job back there with the exception of the one where we caught it on the 5. So we just keep working. But, again, we're going to be young. Every team's going to be young at some point at some position. So, next year we'll look at it like we have experienced punt returners. But right now, you just sort of say, okay, are you feeling good about this? Yeah, good, coach. So let's go. So.
When Pat left, Harlan said he couldn't try to replace his emotion. He said, it's just not who I am. I want to be real. Over the last several weeks, the players have talked about Harlan being real, being genuine, and he's emerged as one of the best defensive coordinators in America, Mark. Can you talk about his emergence as now that you saw him as a player, then as a coach, but now as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, Harlan's a very emotional guy, first of all, with his players. He's in the box. So, he's down on the field a little bit sometimes, not this year yet, but he's a very emotional guy. Pat's emotional as well. We all have our certain emotional moments, but I think what he means is he's just going to be him. I think the players have a great deal of respect for him, having played here, and his interest in them as people, and his faith-based character. But I think all of our players right now, I think Mike Tressel's doing a tremendous job too as well as co-coordinator. But I think all of our coaches have great relationships with their players, and I think that dynamic is one of the reasons you see, first of all, our coaches stay here. They have not left, so there's great continuity here because of those relationships. And I think how hard we play gives you an indication of, I think you play sometimes based on that relationship, what you're asked to do. Our guys will play hard. Won't always do the right stuff, but we'll play hard.
Mark, I know injuries are not your favorite topic to say the least, but was there a concern this past weekend and then moving forward just with the depth at tight end with both Matt and Noah getting banged up and leaving the game?
Yeah, there's a little concern, but we should be all right.
And is there going to be, I guess you're trying to get the tight ends more involved in the offense? It seems like it's been kind of...
We've got, our tight ends are involved in the offense from a lot of different perspectives, so we've been playing 4 of them. So they're involved. One's a big one.
What was I going to ask?
I like that question.
You had mentioned in August how you spent more time here this summer. Harlan mentioned the other day that coaches even adjusted their vacations this summer. I know what that's about, but are you seeing that's paying off?
Yeah, I think it's paid off. It was adjusted, really, we adjusted our schedules a little bit because of the new rules that were involved in being able to meet with your players for 2 hours, a week. And so we did it in half-hour segments so that we would make sure that we're touching them. I thought that it was important that we touch our players during the summer and that we were here when they were here as much as possible. So we tried to do that, and we gave nobody lost any time or anything like that. We just took it in other areas. But I thought it was good. I thought it really helped our young players. I knew we were going to be a young football team. So that's why we had spring practice last year at such an early time. And then after spring practice, we were able to go into more of that OTA type of mentality a little bit. Then go spring recruiting. And then when we came back, then we gave them pretty much May off. Then when we came back in June, had a little bit more of that. And then we got our freshmen in here in July. So we had a little bit more time with them in a teaching environment, and we were around them a little bit more. But I think moving spring practice up earlier helped our football team because they were able to sort of build an earlier foundation and then, back off on it and evaluate what they had done in the spring. And I think that helped.
Any more questions?
Very good, guys. Thanks.